Jai was like a god in his previous life, so now he feels like he can just slack off and be lazy, resulting in him being a poor jobless orphan with a family that resent him for being such a disappointment. His dad went out one night to get some noodles, but instead of coming back, he took his mom as well because Jai is just that insufferable. He currently lives with his younger sister called Wan, who also ends up kicking him out, telling him to go and find a job. On his way out, we see a historical event revealing the state and history of this world. It was the year 2093 when a gigantic evil monster of unknown origins appeared on Earth and began savagely attacking people. At the same time, crime rates were only getting higher and people were on the streets fighting for basic needs such as food and water. As if that wasn't enough, it appeared God had given up on humanity too, as the world was now infested with these savage beasts. By 2095, the end of humanity was inevitable. The world governments could do nothing and everyone had pretty much lost all hope or gone into panic mode. However, at that moment, the first superhero in human history emerged, named Zero, which indicated the number of F's he gave about anyone calling him a weeb. Zero defeated countless dark forces like they were nothing and even obtained damning information about criminal organizations. Within a few months, he'd single-handedly saved humanity after eventually beheading the king of monsters. Zero was like the last beacon of hope for mankind. However, one fateful day he vanished from the front lines and not a soul ever found out what happened to humanity's hero. Inspired by his unmatched power and heroic deeds, strong people from all around the world decided to join forces and gave birth to the Hero Association, an organization of gifted people with superpowers that have been scouted, thoroughly tested, and deployed to fight monsters and criminals. All heroes and enemies are classified into 8 ranks ranging from SS to E rank, and this brings us back to the beginning of Jai's story, who funnily enough is actually the legend behind the mask of humanity's first and most powerful superhero, Zero. But now being Jai, it seems like all he wants to do is play video games and watch anime recaps, all while getting scolded by his sister for not bathing, leaving his smelly dirty clothes on the floor and living like a disgusting Discord mod who doesn't know what a garbage bag is. One day while walking on the street, Jai runs into an open stage show performed by a local popular male band. Basically a Walmart version of BTS. They are members of the famous Shishin family and are doing a live concert for their fans. But during their performance, some thugs who are a gang of C-class criminals, called the Black Hand, shoot at the lead singer. The leader declares that he's come to end them for slaying his friends and sends his men out to finish them off for good, bloodthirsty for that sweet revenge. However, to their surprise, the Shishin family know how to fight just as good as they can play their instruments and instantly wipe the floor with all the cannon fodder criminals. With all his men down, the Black Hand leader takes matters into his own hands and fights the Shishin boss one-on-one. But the fake hard man gets completely socked like an NPC and falls to the ground. Just then, Jai steps in and effortlessly hooks one of his feet with a high-grade handcuff, something only the higher-level police have access to. As it turns out, the Black Hand gang were actually hired by the Shishin family leader himself so they could put on a show in public to gain popularity. Thinking that it was all a trick to get him arrested, the Black Hand leader forgets about their deal and transforms into his buffed macho man form, revealing himself as a level B villain. He then sends the Shishin leader flying back with a single punch and beats up the other members with ease. Just then, an E-rank hero called Jan arrives on the scene and orders the Black Hand to surrender. He then puts his hands forward, exposing his high-tech laser gloves, and prepares to shoot him. But much to his embarrassment, the laser gloves explode on release, which sent Jan flying back into a pile of garbage, where he belongs. Jan gets back up and says that it must have been some trick the Black Hand did on him. So instead he tries fighting him in hand-to-hand combat, but again gets thrown back into the trash can. He attempts to fight several more times with all his cheap Batman gadgets, but instantly gets thrown back into the trash every single time. Annoyed, Black Hand decides to put him out of his misery and starts running towards him at full power. Jan stands up and tells Jai to run away. Jai tells him that he will surely die, but Jan declares that he is a hero, so he can't just stand by and let an innocent civilian get hurt. Upon hearing this, Jai feels bad about himself for being such a loser lately, so he decides to fight once again. Suddenly, he pulls a massive spiked iron club out of his back, and I'll let you guys tell me in the comments on your thoughts about where he could be storing that thing. He proceeds to leap in the air and start spinning like crazy before smashing the club into Black Hand's head, ending his whole career in one hit. Jan immediately becomes impressed and wonders how the hell he just did that, being a no-life civilian. He grabs Jai's leg and asks him to be his partner, as they would surely make the best team, with his big brain and high-tech gear, and Jai's opus fighting skills. Just then a black car pulls in and a wealthy-looking lady gets out of it. As it turns out, she is the rank 3 superhero in H-City called Manu, and she walks up to Jan to ask him about the situation. Jan stands up and tells her that he defeated the B-class villain thanks to his high-tech gear along with his super strong fighting abilities, also introducing Jai as his new apprentice and junior assistant. Manu looks at his stupid face and asks him who on earth he was talking about, as Jai had already fled the scene discreetly. After that, Jai walks back home and runs into his sister arguing with her potential fiancé called Wenfeng. Wen informs him that she's officially applied for the Dr. Qin Research Institute. However, when Feng wants her to retract her application and work for him under one of his many companies instead, Wen becomes very angry, telling him that he can't buy her with money and makes him leave. Jai then walks in and tells her that she ought to be more thoughtful about rejecting men like that. However, she says that she only cares about Zero and wants to marry a man just like him. And Jai cringes at the idea of his own sister being obsessed with his secret identity. Wen then asks him about his job hunt and he says that he didn't get anything, so they get into an argument about that as well. A few moments later, Jan arrives out of nowhere and officially offers Jai to join the Hero Association, saying that he will even get paid a salary and can earn bonuses. His sister looks at him like this is the moment she's been waiting for her entire life and immediately signs the contract so he can't be a burden anymore. After that, Jan takes him to the Hero Association's testing facility where they see a statue of Zero alongside a bunch of other SS rank heroes. Jai asks about them and Jan tells him that these are the heroes who saved the world alongside Zero, leaving Jai to wonder who these frauds are, as he was always a lone wolf in his previous life. With that, he is taken to a testing hall and meets a rank B hero called Yathan, a war tank who is his instructor for the physical ability exam. Yathan calls him an ordinary dummy and says that if Jai can hold him off for a whole 3 minutes then he will pass the exam. Jai then asks what happens if I beat you, and a gobsmacked Jan says that's impossible no matter how strong he is. With that, Jai confidently steps forward and their duel begins. Yathan transforms his arms into 2 blades while Jai pulls out the smelly iron club from his back. Yathan charges in and throws a straight attack with his blade arms, however Jai stops it with only one hand using his club. The examiner is shocked and even Yathan compliments him too, saying that he's the strongest candidate he's ever met. However, at that moment Yathan gets super serious and leaps behind Jai to kick him down. Jai makes a smooth recovery and dodges his cement block, but Yathan begins kicking a whole bunch of them at him like he's just kicking a football. Jai breaks them with ease before they both clash again and engage in an epic duel, exchanging several blows each. However, Jai gets bored of playing with his food and holds Yathan's arm down with his foot, smashing his nose with a knee to the face and knocking him out. Just like that, he clears his first exam and makes everyone surprised by defeating a B-ranked hero so easily. But then he starts dreading about the next test, which is a written exam. The following day, Yathan wakes up in the hospital from a nightmare and starts crying like a baby. He is greeted by Manu, who tells him that he shouldn't worry because the newcomer that he fought was probably as strong as an A-ranked hero. But then, she sadly hands over Jai's written exam results and says that unfortunately he is as dumb as he is strong, seeing as he only managed to score 13 out of 100. Yathan looks at the answer sheet confused, so Manu tells him to look at his answer to the last question, which was to write down your hero ideas. Yathan reads it and sees that Jai answered it by saying that he doesn't want to be a hero, and furthermore he doesn't even understand what this justice they speak of even means, and if it can even be called justice to begin with. Meanwhile, outside in the main hall, Jai and all the other hero candidates stand in front of the test results board where Jan laughs at Jai for only getting 13 marks in the written exam. He says that maybe Jai should look into finishing 3rd grade before thinking about becoming a hero, and trolls him even more. However, Jai doesn't take it too serious as he walks away, calling him noisy. Jan walks with him and tells him to cheer up, saying that he can't be a hero alone and he will need a partner like himself. He explains that becoming a hero is more about finding the right team members and having the right connections to rank up faster, suggesting he should be more open to working with others and becoming a team player. Jai then asks if someone was too weak, wouldn't they just bring down the whole team? And also believes that relying on others doesn't really make you a hero. Just then, they hear a group of 3 low-class heroes bullying a young guy with glasses. They gang up on him and order him to never show his face around them again. The young guy speaks up and says that if doesn't use his powers, the criminals would run away and cause more harm to ordinary civilians. However, the bullies don't care about ordinary civilians as they don't cause any trouble, so how are they supposed to increase their rank as heroes? They say that it's better for the criminals to escape than getting caught by a 4-eyed nerd like him and tell him to immediately resign from the Hero Association or else they will continue to beat him up. The kid with glasses calls them some fake heroes and they reply by laughing at him, saying that he is an idiot who will die like the Great Zero. They then toss him aside, but Jai catches him like a boss. Meanwhile, Jan rushes forward and punches the guy who threw him. The guy simply blocks his punch and calls him another idiotic Zero fan and prepares to hit back. However, Jai rushes between them and holds them both back. The bully steps backwards and reveals that they're the famous group of D-ranked heroes, the Golden Triangle Brothers. Just then, a blue-haired guy calls out to them from the side and asks if they can talk for a moment. The Golden Triangle Brothers turn around and start panicking as they recognize him as the infamous unlucky E-ranked player, named 13. He starts walking towards them, making them scared, and just before he takes another step forward, The Golden Triangle sisters run away with their small-sized tails tucked between their legs. After seeing this, Jai and the others become really amazed, and the Glasses Kid introduces himself as King. Jan calls him Four Eyes and makes fun of him while Jai introduces himself normally, and asks about the E-Ranker who just made the gang of D-Rankers run away. The guy introduces himself as 13 and says that even though he is only an E-Ranker, people are afraid of him. And also they are the only ones who have treated him like a normal person in years. Jai asks him if he really doesn't have any friends, so 13 whips out his mobile and shows him the picture of his Genshin Impact waifu. Jan tells Jai that 13 seems to be a weeb who likes 2D characters, but Jai turns out to be a fellow man of culture and walks up to 13 to show him his Genish waifu from 2, and they instantly become friends since they have similar tastes. He puts his hands on 13's shoulders and asks if he would like to become his partner, and 13 accepts with tears in his eyes because no one ever tried to become his friend, let alone offer him to join their team. He ends up crying happy tears, making Jai kind of worried about him. King asks about his superpower and 13 says that his power bad luck. Jai asks if he has the ability to give bad luck to his enemies only, but 13 reveals that his ability affects everyone around him, so he brings bad luck upon those close to him wherever he goes. He further explains that since childhood he was cursed with supernatural bad luck and people started calling him the unlucky ghost. When he was little, the orphanage where he was raised caught on fire and burned to the ground. He was sent to another orphanage, but within a few days of his transfer, that orphanage also got destroyed by a landslide. After that, no matter where he went, the place would go under, and after a bunch of orphanages crumbled away due to his unlucky power, he started living on the streets. 13 then explains that despite all of this bad luck, good things still happen to him sometimes, and gives the example of Zero saving him. Jai begins worrying about his own bad luck from back then. Meanwhile, 13 pretends to be Zero and punches a pillar jokingly. Unfortunately, because of his bad luck power, that turns out to be a weak spot for the whole building, and it starts falling apart instantly. The ceiling falls down and lots of people get injured by the debris. King gets squashed under a massive piece and Jai gets busy saving a child as well. He then tells 13 to rescue King and get him to the hospital. Later they all meet up in the post-operative treatment lobby. King managed to survive somehow and is thrown inside a healing chamber with bandages all over his body. 13 feels so bad for what he did, but Jai tells him to stop beating himself up about it and still wants him to join them as their party member. King and Jan also agree but tell him to keep his distance because of his luck, while Jai doesn't mind being close to his new unlucky friend. A few days later, King finally recovers and Jai along with 13 are playing cards on a table. Jan then comes in with a letter and Jai asks him if he finally managed to get a love note. Jan reveals he's not that lucky yet and takes a big dose of copium. It turns out Jan managed to get their hero group their first job, and that's what made him excited. Their mission is to capture a group of criminals who are exchanging illegal items. There is supposed to be a bunch of C-level criminal mercenaries in the group, but for some reason, accidents have been happening to all of them, so a lot of them have started to leave the group. Our heroes are staying in a nearby building as 13 keeps watch over the criminals, while Jai and Jan chillax on the rooftop munching on some bacon and beef jerky. They all know that 13 and his bad luck is responsible for all the accidents happening to the enemy mercenaries, and tells him to tail them for a few more days as they will all go down from his bad luck charm without any of them even having to even lift a finger. Jan thinks that it won't work as they may not get any rewards from the Hero Association if the criminals are not directly dealt with. Meanwhile, they've turned King into their lackey who brings them snacks and carries the equipment. Jan tells him to bring his superhero equipment up alongside a couple of spicy bacon packets and makes him annoyed. On the other hand, 13 explains that they are exchanging a very secret and dangerous item today, so their job is to catch them red-handed. He then reports that the two parties have finally made contact, and King arrives on the rooftop with the equipment just then as well. Jan says that he will go ahead first and get all the credit and flies away with his rocket boots. Meanwhile, the two criminal gangs make contact, and the buying party requests to see the product before payment. The sellers accept the condition and let out the product from its chamber and reveal the massive blob of poo, water, and slime turned into a monster. They control it with a remote and showcase its massive size along with its destructive power. The criminals get excited with it and proceed to make the exchange, but just then, King swiftly arrives on the scene while wearing his nerdy glasses and says that under the Hero Association's law, he is there to arrest them. He then introduces his fellow team members, Jai, Unlucky Ghost, 13 and Jan, who falls from the sky and crashes into the concrete floor, knocking himself out. The buyer orders his men to shoot at them, but King stops them all in their tracks by throwing a bunch of glasses on the ground and then teleporting to them. He grabs all of their guns before teleporting back to 13. The seller uses his remote control to make the poo water slime monster attack, however 13 fires back with a machine gun and starts chipping away at its health. He then throws a packet of spicy bacon in the monster's mouth, and ends up making it want more and chase after them. They run towards Jai and ask him to help them with the monster, and Jai turns around and hits the slime away like a baseball into the city. The monster lands in the busy food street and starts attacking people with its stinky slime, but Jai dashes to the location instantly and hits it hard with his club. Due to the heavy impact, the monster splashes his dirty water everywhere and people start complaining. Jan arrives on the scene and asks Jai if he wants to destroy the place by splashing poo water everywhere, but then says to just let him handle it. He equips his weapon and reveals that it's a water purifier, so he will kill the monster quickly with it. He proceeds to slash forward with his rocket boots and sticks the monster all while forgetting to use its strength properly, as it only does a little bit of damage. Jai then pulls him out and saves him, but Jan still thinks that he's got it for sure now. He adjusts his weapon and then enters cool mode to fight the monster. The slime attacks it with a bunch of sticky tentacles, but Jan dodges all of its attacks with swag and ends the fight by sticking his long rod inside the smelly gooey monster, turning it into pure water with skin-enhancing and purifying properties. The monster bursts into a pool of water and washes the whole place away, making everyone happy. Soon, King and 13 arrive on the scene as well and notice the crowd forming around Jai. Jai tells them that he didn't do anything and that John is the real hero here and points at him. Later that day, our heroes sit together in their building and complain about the little XP points they were awarded by the association, even though they defeated and captured 2 criminal gangs at once. King says that it must be because of a lowly girl they came across earlier. Jai tries to ask the girl her name, but she doesn't say anything and keeps on sipping on her juice. King and Jan discuss how to deal with her, but just then the doorbell rings and they find out that the rank 3 hero Manu is at the door. She walks in and plays with the girl and compliments them on completing their first mission as a team. Jai tells her to stop beating around the bush and asks her about the girl. She gives them a USB and lets them plug it in the screen. She explains that several years ago, the Genetic Evolution Company established many charities around the world for homeless children, but their actual goal is to use these children to conduct their disgusting experiments on. The girl that they found is the one and only successful experiment that came out of that facility, while all the other kids perished as collateral damage. After hearing this, Jai becomes enraged and stands up, releasing his unmatched abilities. He asks what the Hero Association has been doing all these years and why they haven't ended all of them yet. However, Jai realizes that he is not Zero anymore, so calms down and says that he just has a little trouble controlling his emotions, apologizing for getting so irate. After that, Manu continues saying that naturally they've been investigating their rival companies for years, but after she did her own research and dug up their history, she found out the evil companies have allies within the Hero Association, and that's why no one has been able to shut them down so far. As a matter of fact, the true culprit behind all of this is none other than the president of the Hero Association, Rui himself. She then tells them that that little girl is a very important subject for Rui's gene evolution company, and they would definitely try to recapture her by all means. Jai asks if Manu isn't a senior member of the association and why can't she do anything about it. But Manu replies that after tonight she won't be able to even guarantee her own safety, and so she has no other choice but to depend on them. She says that this time the association would probably send professionally trained assassins to catch the girl. The following morning, Jai and the others decide to take the little girl out to do some shopping. Jai also asks her sister to come with them so she can help get some stuff for the little girl. Wan asks him where he kidnapped that little loli from, and Jai tells her that he rescued her during a mission and must protect her because she doesn't have any siblings or parents or a home to go to. Hearing this, Wan becomes really sad and sympathetic and looks at the poor girl. She instantly hugs her, asking if she's okay and if her brother hurt her in any way or not. She then takes her to get some good food and buy some new clothes for her, and Jai tells her to go on ahead and that he will relax with his friends for a while, and that they will be close by. Once they are gone, the 3 of them notice that the Diamond Triangle brothers have been following them and are there to fight. They all go into an ally, and the brothers tell them that the rank 3 hero, Manu, is wanted by the organization, and the president has sent them there to bring them to the headquarters for some interrogation. Jai says that they won't be going anywhere with anyone, and this marks the beginning of their fight. The Diamond Triangle brothers say that they are lucky because the unlucky ghost is not with them today, and start off by charging towards them all at once. But Jai knocks them all out instantly and calls them pathetically weak. Just then, Jan realizes that they should go back to Wan, and they all run back to the girls. They meet up with Wan and tell her that they should go back home today as someone might come to meet the little girl, and then asks her where she was. Wan calls out Mumu, and the little girl walks in her new dress that they just bought. Wan asks Jai if she can let Mumu live in her house as well, and that she would protect her and take care of her. Jai wonders about it and looks at the other 2, and they tell him that it would be ideal because Jai is the strongest among them, so Mumu will be much safer by being close to him. Jai agrees and they split up from there, and Jai goes back home with his sister. Back at the Hero Association headquarters, President Rui complains that the D-ranked party was just a bunch of losers and they couldn't even capture some E-rankers. Another shady-looking Chinese guy is also in the room and he tells the president to stop whining like a kid and that he will send his own trained men this time and make sure that they get rid of those E-rankers for good. Later that night, Jan is attacked by a female ninja who infiltrates his house and ends up killing a dummy model with a weird handle in its mouth. She thinks that it's a corpse's head and starts screaming, but then looks up to see a wall full of faces with similar handles stuck inside their mouths. Just then Jan enters the room and asks what was happening, and the ninja tells him to taste death with his own weapon, pushing one of the rods in his mouth. Jan lets out a cry, and it turns out that these rods are special high-tech toothbrushes that he is developing to use during his hero missions. Next up, the girl picks up what looks like a lightsaber handle and unleashes the plasma blade from it. She then points the sword at Jan and attacks him with it for fooling her, but it turns out that this blade is another one of his high-tech toiletries which instantly cleans him up, although it has a glitch that destroys clothes too. The girl begins panicking after seeing his lengthy plot armor and runs away, saying that there's no way she can defeat this idiot. On the other hand, Jai is lazing around at his house and notices someone keeping a watch over his house from the woods. He instantly appears behind the culprit, who turns out to be a top A-ranked killer from the Hero Association. He can turn his hands into sharp blades and goes on to strike him, but Jai shuts him down in a single hit and makes him start thinking about his poor life choices. The guy stands up and injects himself with some compound V, transforming into his monster form, which gives him the strength of a S-ranked hero. He then teleports behind Jai and tries to punch him, but Jai simply turns around and destroys his arm. The monster guy jumps back and regenerates his arm and uses, but Jai dodges the strikes with ease and takes him down in one punch, making Saitama worried in the other universe. Jai walks away, suggesting he back to his master and tell him to stop making trouble because they won't be able to get that girl as long as he's there with her. The monster guy says that he can beat him, but he can't actually kill him as long as he has his regeneration. The thing that will keep it coming back for him and his sister as long as he lives. After hearing him threaten his little sister, Jai stops walking and turns around with a deadly glare in his eyes. He says he's crossed the line with that and grabs his club and transforms it into a sword. He then swings it one time and destroys the monster guy alongside the whole mountain behind him, saying that he won't let anyone get harmed in his presence ever again, and goes back home. He then thinks back on their talk with Manu when she told them that in 3 days, the president will be meeting up with the people from the Genetic Evolution Company, and it will be a rare opportunity for them to capture them red-handed and take them all out at once. Jai thinks back on everything that happened so far and how the heroes in this day and age are only working for fame and money, and no one has the true essence of sacrifice needed to protect others like a true hero. He says that he will restore the Hero Association to its former glory, and resolves to participate in the upcoming battle to take down trash like Rui. The next day, Jai, Jan, and King join Manu in their secret base, and she tells them about their plan. Rui and the Genetic Evolution Company will be meeting up tonight, and to take them all out at once, they need more help. To make up for that, Manu has invited some A-ranked heroes from the B-City, including the Ice Mage, Ye, and the Muscle League. If they fail tonight, the consequences will be disastrous, as the genetic evolution drug will spread around the market, and very bad people would end up harnessing insane amounts of power. Jai then looks at Ye and calls her short, so they start fighting. She also calls King a four-eyed frog and kicks him. However, Manu tries to calm them down by saying that Jai was the only one who was able to destroy Rui's defenses in H City. Ye asks King why he was there, and he says that Rui has got his address and he can't go back home until he makes sure that he is taken care of. Manu says that thanks to 13's unlucky efforts, they have been able to destroy Genetic Evolution Company's headquarters in a city, and internal conflict should be the last thing responsible for the failure of this mission. After that, they all group up at night and head towards the place where Rui will be meeting the Genetic Evolution Company's men. The members of the Muscle League are also there, and they seem really interested in Jai's cute arms. Just then, a helicopter lands down in front of Rui with the president of the company called Gan inside it. The Muscle League members prove to be nothing but muscle heads too, and they start attacking without getting any signal from Manu. And Jan follows as well. Rui sends his men in to fight back, but gets confronted by Jai. On the other hand, Gan shuts the door and starts flying back while Manu tells Ye to stop them from escaping. She shoots the helicopter down with her ice shards, but just then, an enemy sniper shoots her down as well. Jai and Manu stand in front of Rui while King goes to save Ye. The sniper turns out to be Lise, the rank 1 hero in H City, who has the ability to control the direction of bullets. Manu tells Jai to go chase after Gan while she will deal with President Rui. Jai goes to the site of the helicopter crash and confronts Gan, who turns out to be the same shady guy from earlier who sent assassins after Jan and Jai. Yin jumps in from behind and tries to attack Jai, but he blocks all of her attacks and throws her back towards Gan. Just then, Jan also arrives on the scene and he starts fighting the ninja girl, Yin. They both trade several blows, but ultimately he pushes her down with a heavy hit. She then stands up and Jan offers her to change sides, but the girl says that she won't ever work for a stupid rich guy like him and attacks him with a lot of strikes from her blades. Jan dodges back but gets cut by one of them. Ian walks up to deliver the final blow, but Jan stands up and tells her to talk to him. She says that there is nothing left for them to talk about, but he tells her to understand the situation. He starts talking about his riches and says that he can offer her more than what she is being paid, and that more than all that, he can offer her a new life where she doesn't need to kill. She says that she has no reason to believe him, and as long as she kills him she has a way out, but Jan decides to use the most opus technique in the history of anime, talk no jutsu, and combines it with his rich background. He tells her that killing him wouldn't let her escape death herself, and it will only push back the time limit. Being an assassin, one day she will be chased down and caught and used again. He says that he knows there are really less true heroes left in this world, but it is up to her to decide if she wants to be a true hero herself or if she wants to just be a pet for the masterminds with money and power. He lets his wound bleed and walks up to her and gives her a chance to decide, and ends up winning the bet as she drops her blade and rests her head on his chest. On the other hand, King meets up with Ye and asks her if she is okay. She tells him that she doesn't need his help and pushes him aside to form an ice shield to block bullets from Lise. One of the bullets breaks through her shield and she falls back, but King catches her and teleports into the forest. He uses his big brain and tells her to follow his instructions. Based on the direction of fire, distance, and copium used, he finds out Lise's current location and tells Ye to freeze him up. Lise gets hit and teleports away, and Ye compliments him for being really smart. They both stand up and decide to meet up with Manu, but Lise appears behind them and pushes King off the tree while locking Ye into a force field using his ability. He then jumps down and starts beating the heck out of King and finally steps over his head. He tells Ye that he got the force field device from the president, and while this is normally used to detain international criminals, this version of the device was modified by the Genetic Evolution Company to torment heroes. He then points his gun at Ye and tells her to say her goodbyes, but King gets up and starts fighting him again. Lise beats him up once more and steps on him again, but King makes him jump back by throwing a bomb-like device at him. Lise kicks him back into a tree and turns towards Ye, but King teleports and using his nerdy flash jutsu, and throws a clean punch at Lise's metallic face. It ends up just as good as one might expect, and he only ends up hurting his own hand. This time, Lise has had enough of his stupid face annoying him, and he starts beating him like a punching bag and throws him down like a rag doll. In the end, King tries to fight back by activating the bomb and detonating it on his face, but does more damage to himself than Lise. Watching her four-eyed simp fall on the ground, Ye lets out her full power and breaks through the force field prison using her cross-stun ability. She then grabs her unconscious slave and runs away from there. Meanwhile, Jai takes out his iron club and engages into a dynamic fight against Gan. Gan throws a barrage of punches at him, but it doesn't affect Jai at all, so he decides to inject himself with a heavy dose of refined copium. With the power of Pepe, he turns into a stronger demonic version of himself and starts smashing through the ground with his punches. Jai says that he will have to be a little more serious then and rushes in with some martial arts combos and ends up one-shotting Gan with a heavy punch in his belly. He then kicks his stupid face and calls him weak and arrogant and walks away from there. In the meantime, Manu decides to fight Rui and transforms her hands into ice blades. She rushes in to strike him down, but Rui counters by shooting a bunch of metallic shards at her. She parries them all and manages to strike his arm, but when the smoke clears, it reveals Rui wearing his Zai Jai armor with no damage taken. She goes in for another strike, but Rui tells her that it's 2023, and defending yourself is part of the whole equality thing, so he got her hard in the stomach, also knocking her down with another punch in the back and lets her taste the dirt on the ground. He proceeds to grab her from by the head and asks if she is now regretting her actions, but she tells him that real heroes never regret fighting evil and attempts to strike his head. He grabs her blade and breaks it with his hand and then smashes her head on the ground like a barbarian. He then picks her up by her neck and tells her that it's the end for her. She says that she is prepared for this and uses her ability, Ice Lotus, to hold him in place. He tells her that it's useless, but she says that she just needed to hold him there for a moment and calls out Jai's name for his help. Just then, Jai jumps down and appears behind Rui and sends him flying with a heavy strike from his thick iron club. He helps Manu up on her feet and they tell Rui to give up, but he still has a dose of refined copium left and injects it in himself, turning himself into a S-level monster. He summons his iron spikes and shoots them at them, and Manu notices that they are significantly stronger than before. After that, Rui attacks Manu with the spikes once more and catches her off guard, but Jai jumps in and blocks the attack with his club. He then dashes towards Rui and strikes him down with a heavy strike, easily breaking through his iron spike defenses and making him bend on his knees. He asks Jai if he is also an S-ranker, who they don't know about, but Jai says that he doesn't know because no one has been able to judge him properly. Rui says that it doesn't matter and teleports behind him. He uses ancient martial arts footwork and says that no one can dodge it, but Jai simply avoids all his attacks as if he has ultra instinct and stops his punch with one hand. He then grabs him like Goku and throws him in the air and jumps after him. Rui uses self-destruct to attack him with a bunch of iron shards, but Jai dodges all of them and dashes down to strike him with his club, sending him into the ground. Once the fight is over, Manu asks him if Rui is dead, but Jai says that he knows how to control his strength and that he should be able to wake up after a few days at the hospital. She then asks him if he is really an S-rank hero, and he says that he doesn't know. Just then, Jan arrives with the first member of his harem, Yin, and Jai teases them both. Yin throws Jan on the ground and says that it's nothing like what they think, and he just offered her a chance to work for him, so she decided to go where the money was. Jai says that only a stupid rich kid like Jan could have ever gotten away with such an offer, and makes fun of him while Jan lays on the ground bleeding like a fountain and tells them to stop complaining and help him. They both get up and Jai asks Jan for a treat, and Jan says that he will throw them a party at a fancy hotel. Everyone looks happy with the results of this mission, but just then Ye walks in with an unconscious King and asks for help. A few days later, King and Jang are being treated at the hospital while the national news is playing headlines about the illegal transactions done by the H-City Hero Association. Once again, wrapped in bandages like a mummy, King complains about the corrupt government and no mention of them being the ones who caught them, and wonders why they should be afraid of anyone as true heroes. Still, he is happy to get a girlfriend out of it as Ye tends to him and feeds him some soup with her hands. On the other side of the curtain, Jan is enjoying maid treatment from Yin, and says that as true heroes like Zero, they must become accustomed to hiding their true merits and fame. Just then, Jai walks in and asks Ye about her sister, Manu, and says that she told him that she would come meet him at his house, but it's been a week and he hasn't seen her. Just then, Manu walks in from behind and asks him if he was missing her. She says that their group won't get in trouble with the old president. Rui's family and her Dong family talk things over with them. She then says that this battle proved that they can all use some training, and reveals that she has booked a special training facility for them from the Hero Association. Jan and King feel excited about it, but Jai says that he will pass because he's already much stronger than all of them. He becomes mad at his comment and says that a man should always be looking towards improving himself, but Jai says that he can easily take all of them at once and not break a sweat. Ye takes him up on this challenge, and they all go to the rooftop to show him that he's full of BS. The fight includes Manu, Ye, Jan, and Yin attacking Jai all at once while King watches from the sidelines in his wheelchair. Jai easily blocks all of their attacks and says that they have no sense of teamwork. He then kicks Jan down and punches Ye back really hard. Yin dashes forward and starts attacking him, and Manu follows up with her ice manipulation abilities and traps an ice lotus. But Jai simply blows it all apart with a punch and lets Manu fall back as well. Yin jumps in and tries to do some damage, but gets her butt whooped just as easily, and to finish it all off, Jai beats Jan up because why not? After that, he wishes them all goodbye and says that he has to go pick up Mumu. Manu accepts the enormous difference between their strength and tells everyone to wrap up and prepare for training. King opts out due to his injuries, and Jan tries to run away as well, but Manu doesn't let them get away. Later that night, Jai gets his ugly face smashed into becoming even more ugly as his sister, Wan, beats him up. It turns out Jai and Mumu picked up a little dog from the street on their way home and want to keep it. Wan, being the mommy she is, tells them to get rid of it, and that no means no, but Mumu and the puppy uses puppy eyes, and it ends up being super effective against her. The next morning, she takes the dog on a walk with her to Dr. Kin Research Institute. She plans to use it as an experimental subject and increase its IQ to the point that it starts speaking and can read books. She tells Dr. Kin to watch her research, but he says that he is busy and apologizes to her for not being able to come that day. It turns out Dr. Kin is busy dealing with the leader of the former President Rui's family and himself. They are there to retrieve data out of the now mentally paralyzed Rui. Dr. Kin tells them that it's not possible anymore. Hearing this, the clan leader simply slays Rui and says that there is no place for weak people in his family. After that, they start walking out and are greeted by the new president of the H-City Hero Association, as well as the young master of the Dong family, Young. Young is also Manu and Ye's elder brother. Rui's clan leader tells him to not cause trouble and that he still hasn't solved the issue with Manu sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. Young says that he will deal with her and tells him that it's an important time for their plan and so he shouldn't worry about a woman. Once he leaves, Young asks Kin about the research that he has been funding and says that he has brought a helper for him and introduces Dr. Muesli. A few days later, Manu and the others return from their training and meet up with Jai in the Heroes' headquarters for the introductory speech of the new chairman of the Hero Association. Manu greets Jai and asks him if he missed her, but Jai acts like a Sigma male and tells her she is growing weirder by the day. Just then, a familiar face walks towards Jai, introducing himself as the rank A hero and singing idol from the Shishin family. He calls him his master and asks him tips to get close to Manu, but Jai tells him to keep his shady business practices away from him. Soon, the opening ceremony begins with Yang walking up on the stage and delivering his speech like a true lying politician. After his speech, 13 asks others if he should go and talk to the new president about giving him a new rank evaluation, but the others beat him up and tell him to keep his unlucky face away from the whole building or else he will destroy it like the last time. Meanwhile, Manu goes backstage and talks to her brother and asks if he is there to take her home, but he says that he is there for some other business, and then grabs her by her face and tells her to clean up after her mess, and that if she tries to escape him, he will come find her in hell and bring her back even if he has to drag her by her hair. Just then, Jai, Jan, King, 13 and Shishin walk in and stand beside Manu. Yang walks up to Jai and says that he recognizes him as the man who took down Rui, and offers him to join his family. Jai looks at him with a smile and then declines his offer politely. Yang turns around and says that it's alright and then tells him that there were people like him before as well who declined his offer only to end up 6 feet underground. Jai tells him to come at him if he wants to get killed and says that at least he is better than a hypocritical liar like him who sells his BS to everyone up on the stage. Yang becomes mad and unleashes his conqueror's haki and makes everyone bow down in front of him. He tells Jai to stop thinking that he is in the sky after beating a few small fishes, but Jai stands still completely unfazed by his weak haki and says that his mental ability is just as pathetic as his face. Young becomes even more mad and tries to increase the pressure on everyone else, but Jai sends him back flying with a sudden burst of his own haki and makes him puke blood. He tells him off and then walks back to help his friends, and Young walks out feeling salty as well. On their way out, they all discuss the possibility of Young being in cahoots with Rui, and his rude behavior towards Manu. Jai decides to send 13 after Manu and tells him to ask about it to her. Just then, he receives a call from his sister, Wan, and she tells him that the experiment on the dog is complete and he can come pick it up. Jai says okay and decides to go there with Jan. After finishing her call, Wan gets approached by Dr. Muesli, who asks her about her research and becomes amazed by her device that can make a dog so smart that it can read and speak. He tells her to keep up the good work and walks out, and just then, Wan is pulled out by Wenfeng, the man who kept on getting rejected by her after asking her out multiple times. She tells him to go away as she won't ever marry him, but he says that he is there to tell her to run away from this place because the ones supporting Dr. Kin's research are none other than former President Rui's family and the current president, Yang's family. He says that they must be cooking something bad and it would be dangerous for her to stay there any longer. She thinks about it a little and realizes that he is speaking the truth and says that she must save Dr. Kin, and that she is not a coward who will leave someone else in danger, and walks back in. Once she leaves, Wenfeng calls his secretary and tells him to station some Tian bodyguards around Wan and to make sure that she doesn't get hurt at any cost. Meanwhile, Jai and Jan are on their way to the institute, and Jai notices some people keeping watch over Wan from a distance. He catches one of them and makes Jan do some questionable to make her give up her allies. With that, they go to the rooftop and knock down all the Tian bodyguards out, and Jan says that they belong to a company under Wenfeng's command. Hearing this, Jai becomes really mad and thinks that Weifeng must be trying to kidnap his sister because she refused him so many times, and says that he will go and make him pay for sending men after her. On the other hand, Wenfeng receives a report from his secretary that all the Tian bodyguards that they stationed were knocked out and don't remember anything. He wonders if Young got a whiff of him protecting Wan and resolves to protect her no matter what. Meanwhile, Jai and Jan walk in Wan's lab to pick up the dog with more IQ than Jai. Jai gives Wan a special locket and tells her to press the button in the middle to call him if she ever gets into any kind of trouble. She thinks about Yang and Rui's families and says that she can't get her brother involved in such dangerous matters, and tells them both to go back home with the dog and that she can take care of herself just fine. On the other side of the city, 13 is keeping watch over Manu's mansion and notices a flashy car pull in front of the house. Soon, a few robots walk in front of it as well, and from inside a blonde-haired guy walks out. He turns out to be the new young master of Rui's Aoyang family as well as Manu's fiancée. She walks past him and says that he and his family are a bunch of pigs, and young Master Zihao grabs her by her hair and throws her on the ground. He says that he will make sure to clean her mouth with his special toothbrush once they get married. She tells him to just kill her if he doesn't want to see her that much, but he says that there will be no fun in that and that he will be looking forward to their wed life. After that, he tells her to get inside his car like a good girl, but before she can do anything, a bunch of men from the Muscle League walk in and say that they heard the scream of a lady. They look at Manu lying on the ground and charge towards Zihao, but he sends in his robots and beats them and their tiny brains down into the ground. She says that she will obey him and begs him to stop his robots, but he takes her inside the car and makes her watch as his robots continue to beat the living soul out of those muscle heads. She eventually uses her ability and points an ice blade at his neck and tells him to stop. He looks at her and asks her if she is really thinking of threatening her future husband, and notices a bullet coming his way. He catches it between his fingers and throws it back like a beast and shoots 13 down from the tree. He then forms a wind blade and slashes 13 with it as well and hits Manu aside, calling her annoying. She says that she will be good and do what he wants in exchange for him letting her friends go, and he says okay and drives off with her to have some fun. But once they are out of the mansion, he orders his robots to finish everyone off who tried to attack him like the cunning fox he is. 13 watches on as the car zooms out of his vision and tells them to stop, but then a robot walks up to him and prepares to finish him off with an energy blast. The robot shoots the energy blast, but Jai arrives just in time and saves 13. He tells him to leave the rest to him and takes out a flaming sword out of his infinitely large black hole. He says that he will need this to defeat these robots with regenerative properties and starts cutting them all down like the piece of scrap they are. Back in the car, Zihao gets a notification that his robots were destroyed and wonders who could be strong enough to do that. He checks the camera and notices a guy holding the fire spirit sword and hears Manu calling him Jai. He says that he will take that weapon as a dowry gift while Manu wonders why Jai is helping her. Back at the mansion, King and Jan arrive on the scene as well and tell Jai about everything that they found out regarding Manu and the Aoyang family. Jai becomes mad and says that he will go and destroy their whole family, but his friends calm him down and say that they need to call an ambulance for 13 first. After sending him off, they sit down at Jan's house and think about a plan to take down the Aoyang family and to save their friend, Manu. At first, King is scared and asks if they really need to do that, as Aoyangs are one of the strongest in the region and they still have an army of strong robots that trash the Muscle League in 13 like ragdolls. Jan tries to cheer him up with some talk no jutsu and says that they are heroes and they fight to defeat criminals, and that they can't just back off because the criminals are strong and they must move forward bravely like Zero. King finally grows some balls, and just then Shishin also walks in and says that he heard about Manu's accident and wants to help his master, Jai, save his friend. With that, they go to Yin and ask her for help as well, and she hacks into the Aoyang family's mansion and gets all its floor plans thanks to the big brain dog's help. She shows them the map to the banquet hall and tells them that tomorrow night, Zihao and Manu will get engaged there. Jai asks her for more details and she says that it's a political marriage between the two families to strengthen their bonds as well as to calm down the many complaints regarding the Yang family's role in Rui's downfall. Jai becomes mad and says that Manu isn't a bargaining chip for people to use, but King tells him to calm down and that what they need is a plan. Jan says that they all know how strong he is, but strength is not the only thing they need. Just like last time, they had to pay for defeating Rui in the form of Muscle League. 13 and Manu getting in trouble. If they simply barge in and start wreaking havoc there, they will have to pay an even larger price this time. With that, he tells Shishin to bring his fans out and do a rally outside the Aoyang residence to give Manu back. Meanwhile, Yin and the big brain dog will deactivate their security system, and he, King, and Jai will get inside by climbing over the wall. The next day they follow through with this plan and find a way inside the residence. Meanwhile, Manu is dressed up in her wedding dress and her sister Ye walks in and asks her if she was alright with all of this. Manu says that she has no other option, and just then Zihao walks in with a handsome dude by his side. Ye instantly grabs the guy, telling him to get away from the ugly-faced blondie, and he offers to take her down for breakfast. Manu tells her to go as well, and once they are alone, Zihao grabs her hand and pins her to the wall and asks her to tell him who this Jai guy was. He says that he wanted to negotiate with him to get his hands on the fire spirit sword and says that it is a really strong weapon from the legends. But then he shows her some security camera footage of Shishin and his fans rallying in front of their door and says that it looks like they won't have a chance to bargain. He then tells her to know her place and stay there like a good girl, or else she knows what will happen to those she calls friends. He then walks out, leaving her alone as she sadly wishes that Jai doesn't do anything stupid. Meanwhile, Jai and the others jump inside, and Jan and King notice that he is wearing a mask. He says that he is hiding his identity, and that's why he is using a different weapon. Just then, Ye walks out from the woods behind them and asks who they were, and King takes off his hoodie and tells her that it's him. He then notices the handsome guy beside her and becomes mad. The guy asks her if she knew these guys, and King walks in between them and says that he knows her well, and that they are actually pretty close. After that, he starts lecturing Ye about handsome guys like him who are good for nothing trash, and like to play with girls. Meanwhile, Jan and Jai decide to leave him behind to keep them busy and infiltrate the mansion inside. They eventually find the bride's room, but it's guarded by 2 men. Jai says that he will go and finish them, however Jan asks to let him do the job of a hero and walks out. He immediately starts fighting them both and takes them to the other side of the hall. With his path clear, Jai walks in and meets up with Manu. He asks her why she is not running away, and to not waste the sacrifice made by her friends. Manu says that she is just keeping the promise with her family that she won't cause them any more trouble, and starts crying, but Jai pulls her into a hug and says that she is really important to him and that he won't let her be used like this. She explains that the Aoyang family is one of the strongest in the region and going against them would mean a lot of trouble. However, Jai says that he will deal with anyone that would try to harm her or his friends and breaks the wall in front of them with his glaive. Looking at his big strong glaive and firm resolve, she feels relieved and takes his hand as they decide to escape from that place. They jump down and start making their way through the massive tree that led to the wall they climbed in from. While walking through, they suddenly run into King getting his cheeks clapped by none other than Zihao, and his two robots. Manu becomes scared looking at him, but Jai holds her hand and gives her courage and then walks up to face Zihao himself. They both trash talk each other for a little while and then decide to settle their differences with a one-on-one arena fight. Their bet goes that if Jai wins, he will get to take Manu back and she won't face any consequences for that. On the other hand, if Zihao wins, Jai will help him achieve his goal and will also give up his fire spirit sword. They both agree and set up the match in the competition arena with the heads of both Aoyang and Dong clans watching over them. Zihao stands tall and says that he will defeat Jai and show him the true strength and glory of the Aoyang clan and win the legendary fire spirit sword from him. Hearing the name of the legendary weapon, both clan heads become interested in the outcome of the match and accept its terms and conditions. The Aoyang head tells Zihao to not use his full strength and lets them begin the match. Zihao jumps down inside the arena and Jai summons his glaive known as the Azure Dragon's Crescent Blade and prepares to fight as well. Zihao acts arrogant right from the get-go and says that he will only need one finger to deal with him. Even though he's a douchebag, he is still considered the strongest among the younger generation of the Aoyang clan, and is someone worthy to be taken seriously. However, that may be good advice for someone else, but Jai is just too opus and he decides to play with the blondie kid for a little while. He starts the battle by shooting a couple of wind blades at Jai, but he cuts through them with his blade and then starts running towards him. They both meet up in the middle and start fighting each other with hand-to-hand martial arts. Jai uses his blade as well, but Zihao counters back by coating his arms with solid wind and fighting back that way. They both clash against each other and Zihao shoots a wind bullet at Jai's head and then punches him, but Jai dodges it and counters back with a punch of his own and they both fall back after matching equally. Zihao says that the time for playing games is over and unleashes a barrage of wind blades at him like a Gatling gun, but Jai parries all of them with his blade and turns around with his glaive to counter Zihao, who's planning to attack him from behind. Zihao saves himself from getting cut in half at the last moment by flying up and wonders where Jai went. Just then, he looks back and notices him flying behind him and gets kicked down hard into the arena. Once they are both back on the ground, Jai starts running towards him to deliver the final blow, but Zihao attacks him by throwing a couple of heavy rocks at him and then forming a multi-layered barrier to block his attack. But Jai proves to be too strong for him and he manages to block his attack with the last of his barrier's layer, and struggles for his life. Things start looking bad for him and he tries to deflect the blade with a wind blast from his fingers, but it only ends up breaking his digits back. After that, Jai punches him straight in his face and sends him rolling back on the ground. Zihao manages to barely get back on his feet, but Jai decides to go full overkill and unleashes the dragon within his blade. After that, he spins his glaive and delivers a clean slash across Zihao's chest, saying that it was payback for what he did to 13. Feeling humiliated, Zihao uses all his power to summon a giant energy blade in the sky and crashes it into Jai, but he simply flies up and dodges it all and then gets back in with a flying kick across Zihao's face and sends him flying back into the wall outside the arena. Not wanting to accept his defeat, Zihao says that if he can't win, nobody can, and unleashes the forbidden scroll of his clan. He unleashes the forbidden harem jutsu that he learnt from the great Naruto senpai, but accidentally ends up using the making yourself ugly jutsu, and transforms into a smelly ugly punk with purple fart around him that destroys the whole arena as well. Manu rushes down and looks for Jai and meets up with Shan and King as well. They all look up at ugly Zihao and wonder what he ate for dinner last night to smell that bad, but just then Jai walks out of the smoke and says that he got just the right medicine for him. Looking at him, Zihao becomes mad and shoots him with a dense energy beam, but Jai counters it with a beam attack of his own using his blade and one-shots him and his fart in one go. Once he falls down, Jai takes a picture of his ugly face to bully him later on and celebrates their victory with Manu. While all of this is happening, Yang walks away in secret and decides to use the forbidden technique of his clan to become a godlike being. He can't help but feel jealous of Jai for being stronger and even managing to take his sister away, so he decides to put an end to this world, letting us all know that he is at the end a sweaty League of Legends enter. He infiltrates Dr. Kin's lab and uses the technology he was making him work on. Wenfeng manages to protect Wan, but they both lie there unconscious as Yang starts the machine and transcends humanity. In exchange for gaining divine power, Yang turns into an ungodly version of someone named Johnny with a lot of sins. He unleashes his ungodly aura and makes everyone in the area fall unconscious and starts laughing at them for being pathetic creatures. But among all of them, one still stands and he looks down to praise Jai for being able to witness his godly aura. He summons massive dark clouds and tells Jai that he will now face the wrath of a god and attacks him with an aura tiger. Jai simply punches it back and sends a strong shockwave his way as well. He walks up and says that he is just a stupid pirated evil god, and this makes Yang really mad. He pokes a hole in the clouds above and lets himself be in the spotlight from the sun as he claims that he is a true god. Jai tells him that having the shiniest bald head in the world doesn't make him a god and that he should look into getting some therapy, But Young becomes mad and tells him to surrender in front of him or die. Jai tells him to give him his worst, and Young starts smiling, saying that he was looking for the same answer. With that, he makes some massive rocks float in the sky as he summons a bunch of storms and tornadoes and attacks Jai with them. Jai fights back with his glaive and flies up to fight him in midair. Their fight goes on for a little while before Young manages to strike him down towards the ground and catches him off guard with the divine spirit erosion ability that lets him see inside a person's soul. Once inside, Young plans to learn about Jai's fears and use them against him, but he ends up seeing a bunch of super strong monsters and gets a vision of him holding the body of a young girl as he looks up with painful and angered eyes, pushing him back into reality. Young wonders what he just saw and looks down to see Jai acting weirdly. He says that he won't let his past repeat and starts transforming into a black form, and with a huge burst of storming energy he reveals himself in the legendary hero, Zero's form. Young says that it's not possible that he is the legendary hero, Zero, and attacks him with a bunch of tornadoes, but Zero unleashes a beam of red energy from a dark blade and cuts through the dark clouds as well as Young's attacks. Young gets his arm hurt but says that he hasn't given up yet and summons a massive titan of pure energy around him and attacks Zero with it. Zero jumps up and sits in his hands and says that he hasn't used this technique in years, and then points his black sword at his face. Young claps his hands in an attempt to squash him, but then Zero utters the name of his technique, Judgment, and it unleashes a super strong wave of dark energy that pierces through his energy avatar and sends him back falling on Earth. He stands up and cries like a salty loser and says that he won't accept defeat. Zero or not, he will not die and will make him bow down in front of him, but then Zero uses first form, Judgment, and sends a deadly beam of dense energy through him that cuts right through Earth's atmosphere and can even be seen from space. After tanking this attack head on, Young falls on the ground and blasts away one more time before he falls on his back. Just then, Zero teleports behind him with his black sword and says that it can even cut through the spirit realm, and says that this world is really complex and not everything can be solved with strength. Young tells him that as the strongest he doesn't know anything about being weak, and Zero says that maybe he's right, and then walks past him unleashing the second form technique, Redemption, and cutting through his evil core and dispelling his divine powers. After getting his evil core cleansed by Zero's sword, Young falls back on the ground with all his life force slowly fading away. Zero turns back into Jai and looks up at the clear sky as he talks with Young in his final moments. Young says that it's true that compared to Jai, he is still far weaker. Jai asks him if he remembers why he started pursuing strength, and Young thinks back on his ambition from when he was a child, and all he wanted to do was to become a hero who saves others. He wanted to create a world without murderers or sinners, and for that he needed strength, but he doesn't know where along that path he strayed away from his original goal, and seemingly turned into a villain worthy of hate and punishment in this world. Jai then takes off his shirt to reveal his scar-filled body, explaining where he got each one of them from. He starts off by telling the story behind the one on his chest that he got by getting stabbed by one of the 13 formations of the legendary sword called Celestial Executioner. Young asks about the one on his shoulder, and Jai explains that it was an alien attack. The one on his wrist he got from a strange phenomenon. The one on his back was from being slashed by the god of another world. He then explains that after fighting all these crazy beings, he couldn't even recognize his own body. Fortunately, his hands and face were unscarred, and so he manages to live by without having to talk about these, as he doesn't want to tell his younger sister about them. Hearing him, Young starts smiling and says that it's true that no ordinary human can even imagine the fights he had to fight 5 years ago to save humanity, and then asks him about the girl he saw in his soul. Jai says that he doesn't want to talk about it and says that he has long abandoned the hero called Zero, and as Young turns into a ghost, he asks him why he is still registered as a hero, then to which Jai says that only God knows because he doesn't know either. He says that he wants to live simply now and wields his sword only for redemption before walking away as Young's body vanishes away completely. After that, he goes to the research institute to check upon his younger sister and sits down beside her. When Feng comes to his senses and notices that Wan is safe and smiles, but then his own hands in cuffs, and wonders what that was all about. Meanwhile, Wan comes back to her senses and asks him why he was there, and he says that had to come save his sister as a professional hero. Just then, he receives a message from Manu and goes out to the bridge to meet her. While waiting for her, he thinks back on everything that happened so far and how he met her on day 1 and what led to the events of that day. Just then Manu arrives to say her goodbye to him. She has decided to become a teacher at the Hero Academy in District M, which is infamous for being full of criminals. He asks her if it was even worth the trouble, and she says that he was the one who motivated her to do something that she wants. She then says that she has one more thing to take care of before leaving, and pulls him in for a kiss before saying her goodbyes as the driver comes in to tell her that it's time to catch their flight. Jai looks into the sky as he looks forward to the future, and that's how it comes to an end. Meanwhile, in an isolated criminal detention facility, someone with an iron arm laughs in his high security level isolated cell and says that the energy that he felt earlier could have only been from Zero, telling him to wait for him as he will meet him soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on post notifications so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.